So the Marvels has bombed at the box office. It has only made $205 million worldwide, making it the lowest grossing film in the MCU. And to just give you a comparison, the average MCU film makes over $900 million at the global box office. So the Marvels is well short of the average film in the MCU. Now, I normally don't make discussion videos on this channel. Well, that's a change. I am going to do more now. This video, in my opinion, is very important. One that I really need to make. So I'm going to make this. I've got a lot of thoughts on this topic. Just listen to me. But before I start this video, I've got to give credit to two people. They are Chris Stuckman and Patrick Willems. Patrick Willems, on his channel, Patrick H. Willems, made a video talking about cinema. The video is called Who is Killing Cinema? It is a fantastic video. It educates you a lot on the topics that I'm going to get into. It is fantastic. I highly recommend you should check that video out. It is great. And the other video is Chris Stuckman's video, The Future of Film, Why I'm Worried. Another fantastic video that addresses some excellent points, giving some extra thoughts to things that I highly recommend you check out both those videos. Those videos have greatly inspired me with this video you're about to watch. Now, what caused the downfall of Hollywood? Well, many point the blame to superhero movies. And although I love a lot of them, this is true. Superhero movies did cause a lot of the downfall of Hollywood. And just where did this begin? Well, my friends, let me take you back to 2008. In May 2008, Iron Man was released to enormous critical acclaim and was part of a shared universal film that we know as the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or MCU for short. 1 month apart from Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk released, and then in 2010, Iron Man 2 released, and then in 2011, Captain America, The First Avenger, and Thor were released. All these films leading up to the massive film, The Avengers. And The Avengers proved to be an enormous success. It made a lot of money worldwide. And the idea of one huge, big cinematic universe appealed to a lot of studios. How Marvel could make 2 movies a year and make so much money from their movies as they all lead up to this major film. So then, a bunch of studios started copying Marvel. DC saw what Marvel was doing and decided to set up their own cinematic universe, which is referred to as the DCEU. And instead of just making another X-Men film, Fox made a Wolverine film and 2 Deadpool films. The Harry Potter universe had ended in 2011 with Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, and Warner Brothers probably wanted to make more money. Well, I know they did. So then they thought, let's make a prequel Fantastic Beasts series, like what Marvel's doing. Let's expand our universe. We'll make more money out of it. And that's what they did. They made 3 of them. And then Universal made a very bold move. They decided to make a shared universe with all their monsters like Dracula, the Mummy, Frankenstein, in a shared universe. And the first film in this universe, the Dark Universe, was The Mummy. And it was a huge, huge, huge success. In case you're not aware what happened, the film lost a lot of money at the box office and gained terrible reviews from critics. And it killed off the Dark Universe completely because of how badly this film did. Sony made interconnected films about Spider-Man villains that don't even feature Spider-Man. I'm not joking, they actually made those films. And they're making more of them. They've got Venom 3 and a Kraven the Hunter movie coming out in 2024. The Despicable Me franchise even followed the same pattern as Marvel did. Instead of just making Despicable Me movies, they made Minions movies. Instead of just making Shrek movies, they made 2 Puss in Boots movies. The second one is great though. These movies continued to get made because these movies were almost always profitable, and people generally like these movies. You see, these movies were made to give it a similar experience to the audience every single time. Like, look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Every Marvel movie, although yes, they've got different sub-genres in some of them, but they all look and feel much the same. You can tell when you're watching a Marvel movie and when you're watching something else, because the Marvel movies all feel the same.
But at the end of the day, you know, they're all Marvel movies. They all look the same and feel the same and have the same formula.
And audiences like the feel of Marvel movies. Audiences enjoy watching Marvel movies. The Marvel movies are all similar to one another in plot, and audiences like that plot. And that's why Marvel was a safe bet for the audience, as they knew that they were going to get a similar experience which they enjoyed every single time they went and saw a Marvel movie. And that's why Marvel movies made so much money. And I truly believe that due to the success of these huge, big budget franchise blockbusters, less originality got made. Yeah, because studios didn't feel like they wanted to take a risk. They wanted to play it safe and make an enormous profit on this big franchise blockbuster. They didn't want to take a risk and lose money on this original film. And that's why less originality got made.
There is no Hollywood is out of ideas. There is no originality is dead. It is all down to will we pay for it? Because if we don't, they won't want to make it.
And whenever a big budget original film came out, such as The Creator way back in September last year, we didn't go and see The Creator. We instead saw The Nun 2 a couple weeks earlier, or waited a couple weeks to see the Taylor Swift movie instead. That is what we did, and that is why The Creator bombs. And that is why we won't get movies like The Creator, but we will get movies like The Nun 2 and the Taylor Swift concert movie. Look, even if people were going to the movies to see original films, at least they were going to the movies. But all of a sudden, after Endgame, the MCU started to dip in quality. Now granted, has every film post-Endgame in the MCU been bad? No! I loved Shang-Chi, I loved Spider-Man No Way Home, and I loved Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And I thought that Black Widow, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and Black Panther Wakanda Forever were good in their own rights. But yes, the MCU has gone downhill. And Marvel wanted to milk their franchise to extreme extents, that they started making TV shows as well. But then they thought, let's make it so you have to watch the TV shows to understand our movies. So that's what they did in their latest film, The Marvels. Granted, I didn't watch a lot of these TV shows. I didn't have much interest in watching the TV shows. A lot of the Marvels didn't really make much sense to me. There was a lot of stuff I missed, but luckily I was watching the movie with someone who had seen a lot of the TV shows, so that really helped. But they just made it as though you had to watch the TV shows. They made so much content. They made it a necessity. It's just too much. It's one thing to make everyone watch all the movies, but it's another thing to make everyone watch the TV shows as well. It's just too much time. And because of the MCU demanding so much in you, their movies bombed. They lost money on a couple of their movies. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, underperformed. The Marvels, they lost so much money on that movie. Not only did the MCU go downhill, but a bunch of other franchises kept going downhill, milking out their content to extreme extents just to make more money. And people lost interest in these big budget movies. But Hollywood didn't think they would. Hollywood spent $290 million on the Indiana Jones film that nobody really had any interest in seeing. I mean, do you know anyone who's actually excited to see 80-year-old Indiana Jones on the screen again with some woman who was bossing him around all the time? Do you know anyone that was really that excited for that movie? I mean, sure, there were people that hoped that movie would be good.
You know, it's like I'm rooting for this movie like people in the movie Iron Will were rooting for Will. Like, we root for Rudy. We're all in the stadium instead of Rudy. It's Indy. You know, like, we want Indiana Jones to be good.
But do you really know anyone that thought, this movie is going to be great, it's going to be one of the best of the year? No, because no one thought that that movie would be very good. And a lot of people gave that movie the miss. And it really scares me. These movies were keeping theatres alive. But now nobody goes and watches them. It's really sad. It's devastating. I'm terrified. Are people even gonna go to movies anymore? I'm being serious. I am genuinely worried about this. This scares me that people aren't going to movies anymore. People don't even watch movies that much anymore. This terrifies me. Things are going really badly in Hollywood. We need to do something about it. And so I wonder, if people aren't going to the theatres to watch Marvel movies, what movies will they watch in a theatre? And I can, however, see people watching video game movies. I believe that video game movies are going to come into prominence in the latter part of this decade. Because that Super Mario Brothers movie was so successful. It made over $1.36 billion worldwide at the box office. That is insane. And so of course Universal are going to do sequels to this movie. Charlie Day, who plays Luigi, has expressed interest in doing a Luigi's Mansion movie, and Anya Taylor-Joy has expressed interest in doing a Princess Peach movie, and Jack Black has suggested making a musical Mario movie as the sequel. And we've been told that we are going to get this franchise expanded, which does excite me. And so many studios have announced that they're making movies based on video games. I mean, we're getting a Pac-Man movie. I'm pumped for that. It really excites me. I think that people are going to watch a whole bunch of video game movies. Nintendo's more willing to sell their properties. That's going to excite a lot of people. Video game movies are going to be what's going to keep cinemas afloat for a little while. But could video game movies end up like comic book movies where people don't really want to see them anymore? I could seriously see that happening. There being a video game movie fatigue going around like now there's comic book movie fatigue. But what about those films that were blockbusters 30 years ago? Those original films. The films that weren't sequels or based off major IPs. What happened to those films? They just aren't made anymore because they didn't generate the excitement that they needed to keep getting made. It's not because audiences don't like them anymore, it's because more people went and saw a Star Wars movie or a Spider-Man movie instead of an original movie. And the original movie did not make anywhere near as much money, so Hollywood decided to not make so many of these mid-budget movies because they just wouldn't make enough money back. Well, so they thought. Actually, if Hollywood really wants to, any movie they can make could be profitable. Yes, any. And you want to know how? It's because of one word. Marketing. Want some proof? Now let's just look at Barbie and Oppenheimer. Some of the biggest hits of 2023. Let's look at why these movies succeeded. It's because of how they were marketed. Barbie could have very easily been this movie that was marketed at young girls and older girls who play Barbie, but it wasn't. It was marketed at a wide variety of audiences. You got so many people to see the movie who would have never have seen the movie had it been marketed differently. And Warner Brothers took a huge risk with this movie. They took a massive gamble. Instead of just making this kid-friendly movie, they made a movie about Barbie that wasn't even aimed at kids. I mean, what a risk is that? That's an insane risk, and I admire Warner Brothers for doing that heavily. That was such a brave decision on their part. And Oppenheimer, they let Christopher Nolan have creative control and make the movie that he wanted to make, and let him have it marketed the way that he wanted it marketed. He wanted Oppenheimer to be marketed as this summer blockbuster. It has this summer blockbustery feel. When if you'd given the film to any other director, this is how the film would have been marketed. It would have been marketed as this awards-heavy, non-crowd-friendly film, but however, it's because Christopher Nolan marketed the film the way he did. We got people to watch a movie that was mostly about conversations. I mean, do you know how crazy it is that a movie like that was so successful in today's world? It proves that cinema is still alive. And that's something that gives me so much hope. Because of how successful Oppenheimer was, I know that cinema is still alive. We need to market movies more like Oppenheimer. Let's look at a somewhat similar movie, Killers of the Flower Moon, and let's compare Oppenheimer's marketing to Killers of the Flower Moon's marketing. So Killers of the Flower Moon was a movie that was released in 2023, an awards-heavy film directed by Martin Scorsese. Killers of the Flower Moon was marketed as this tense mystery film. The trailers made you feel uncomfortable. You wanted to stop watching those trailers when you saw them. And that is why Killers of the Flower Moon severely bombed at the box office. And it's all because of marketing. If Killers of the Flower Moon had been marketed like Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon would have been profitable. I just hope that we together can save cinema from completely dying, and I hope that we'll support all kinds of movies, because I genuinely love watching movies, no matter who's made it, or what the genre is, even if it's not aimed at me. I just love supporting film. It's such a great thing, and that's why I love having a YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching. Share your opinions on this topic in the comments below, and I'm the Grinning Critic, and don't forget to subscribe to me.